Hello everybody, Larry Young here again with another segment of OLaMan, Living Life with Purity. And today I want to talk a little bit about something that the progressives and the mainstream media don't want to talk about. And this has to do with a theory I've been proposing on here for quite some time, and some people have taken issue with, but like we say, we like to bring the receipts to the party and show you just what it is we're talking about. So I've been saying that people are getting dumber and dumber as time goes on, that since the 1980s, there's been an institutional bias going on in our educational systems and our educators around the country to sort of dumb down the population and not have them be problem solvers and elite students, but to become more indoctrinated and follow along with what their mission statement is for a reinvented society, if you will. And this all goes along with these one world order people and these elitists who always want to cry elitist when it's the other guy, but never when it's about them. So let's go back to the original topic here. Why are we getting less intelligent every year? Why are our combined IQ scores going down? Now, in the United States, in 2020, the standing was that the average person living in the United States had an IQ of 100 or more. Could have been less, but that the average IQ was 100. And that's okay. That gets you good people who can work factory type jobs that, maybe administrative, getting in there. There's some other skills that are needed for discerning and referencing information cognitively. And not everybody's up for that. And apparently the test results that came out from this study evidences that very clearly. So why are people getting less intelligent? Well, they're becoming more and more attached to these. This is one thing. They did a study in high schoolers, not middle school, but high school, from 10 to 12. So that's sophomore through senior year. And they did a study on students in the high schools as to how many times they were referencing or using their smartphones throughout the day. Now, the average number of times that somebody would look at their smartphone throughout the course of the day was 64 times a day. So in an 8-hour day, that means 8 times an hour the students are looking at their phone, referencing something, whether it's to be in a chat, to fact check something, whatever it may be. They didn't discern what it was, but there were 8 uses per hour of their smartphone devices. Now, that was just average. Some kids, they found, were as many as 800 times in a day. That's just while they're at school. 800 times a day. So if they had an 8-hour day at school, which they don't do, many of them it's just down to 5.5, 6 hours, they were checking their phone 100 times an hour. Good Lord. What is happening? Well, the institutions are pushing people towards combined thinking. And this is where AI, they want to control all of it so they can say what goes into AI so that the answers that AI spits out are what they want you to think and to follow. Combined machine learning. So the kids are getting more and more stupid. I think it's because of this, because they're not using this to process information on a page or out of a book, to be able to correlate it all together and to be able to spit it out with a reasoned answer. So kids and people in general are losing this ability to figure things out on their own. If they don't have this, they're in trouble. Now, the other day I had a power outage at my house. My power was out for 5 hours. I thought it was not going to be a big deal. There would be no problem with it. Well, there ended up being a problem. Power was out. My phone power was going down because I was using it more and more to try to help me do work that I needed to do throughout the day. And a lot of stuff I needed was online. So a lot of the details I needed to complete, I couldn't complete without the assistance of being able to navigate the internet and get information from those sources to be able to put onto my piece of paper for the work that I had to turn in as part of the process that I was working on. So it got to be kind of difficult all the way around on a lot of these things. So we have people getting more and more tied to these. And we have our numbers are coming down in our schools and institutions. Our SAT scores are coming down. We still have our elites at the top, but they're being disregarded many times now because of DEI solutions that a lot of these Ivy schools want to put into place. So the kids who are getting the 1550s and higher scores are being disregarded for the lesser kids getting the 1450 scores, who might be of a different racial mix-up and a different DEI category. So instead of taking the best and the brightest, they're taking the pretty goods. And that's a slippery slope, and that's taking us down a road to failure and complacency and a lot of other words we can probably put with that. But the main one, I think, is apathy, because I don't think that the educators and the people who are supposedly be watching the store really don't care, because they're trying to get an agenda across that fits their DEI directives. And so that's what we're into. So where's the proof on this? Well, if the kids are getting more and more stupid, does that mean we have dumb teachers are being spit out? Because that's kind of reasonable, because you got people coming through the system. If they're not being educated like they used to be, and they're not scoring as high, well, we would consider them to be lesser quality, lesser capacity, dumb. Is it dumb teachers, or is it indoctrination, which is probably an even more sinister situation? The first one we can fix. The second one, we have to destroy it and eliminate it if that's what's going on, because that's no good. That is the dystopian type of world. That's the Big Brother universe. And this is where people lose their brush with humanity, their feelings of humanity, their feelings of closeness with nature, which brings them to God. And this is why there's this disconnect that's going on in our society away from godly principles and godly directives and a sense of purity in our lives. And so they replace a lot of these virtues with other virtues they want to make more emblematic of their powerful virtue, whether it be a tattoo, whether it be something they want to call it resistance, but they really don't know what they're resisting about, because they never got the background on how we got here from history. You know, got to tell you, history started before 1995. It really did. There was a lot of stuff happened before 1995, but a lot of people getting out of school these days don't know that. They've heard of it, but they don't have any way to apply it and put it together because they're too dumb, because they never got it in the first place. So there was a group of people out there that thought along the same lines of this. So they said, well, we need to test this. And so they went about going with the standardized platform, and they chose the graduate equivalency degree, the GED exam. Now, every state has their own version of this because they have the different things that they stress on. But the main components of a GED exam, I think, are the math, the RLA, which is called, that's the reasoning through language arts, being able to read something and figure it out, put it together, word problem type stuff. What words mean. These are all things. So there's the math, there's the RLA portion, there is a science portion, and I think there's like a social studies type of thing. You include like geography and, other things like that. So what they did was they took 15 teachers. 5 of them were under the age of 28. 5 of them were between the ages of 28 and 33, and 5 of them were between 33 and 38. So they took a 10-year spectrum, and they went up and down the line a little bit with equal numbers. And what they did was they challenged each of these teachers to take the GED exam. And if they passed the GED exam within 6 hours, they had 6 hours to take the exam. Normally a student is given 7.5 hours. But these teachers were so full of themselves, and they thought, well, these are students who are struggling. They get 7.5 hours. Yeah, I can do that in 6 hours. I can push myself. I can run through that. I'm a teacher. So they all took the bait. And so they all said that they could complete the GED in 6 hours. And if they did and passed the GED, they would get a $1,000 check. And so they all stepped up to the plate. And because it was all done online, they didn't have to sit for the full 6 hours at once to do it. They were able to break it up by section. They wouldn't know what the questions would be coming at them in the next section were, but they didn't have to dedicate their full 6 hours to one, project. So this was a very relaxed situation. There wasn't stress put upon them. There was no loss provision if they didn't, win, if they didn't succeed. There was nothing at risk for them. This was all gain. There was no pressure. This is all done by design. Well, let's see what happened. Out of 15 teachers from the ages of, 20 up to 28, 28 to 33, 33 to 38. So out of that group of teachers, 2 passed the exam. 2 were able to go on and were eligible to walk across the stage to receive a diploma. 13 out of the 15 failed. Now, where did they fail the most? Well, a lot of people would think it would be the math, because the math gets into quadratic equations and things like that. And math is one of those things, if you don't use it, you kind of forget about it and lose it. You lose some of the rules of principles, like if you got equation and you got parentheses, which actions do you complete first in the order, of things. It can change the answer dramatically if you don't get those series of things right. And a lot of people mess up on that. So that being said, it wasn't the math that the people failed on so much. And it wasn't the science that they failed on so much. Although the scores were low, their science scores were very weak. It was the RLA, the Reasoning Through Language Arts portion of the exam. And in this part, people were told to read something and to make correlations between what this said and what this means, those types of things. Well, the teachers failed the RLA portion miserably. If they failed anywhere, they failed big time there. Now, why? Now, if the teachers are failing it, what chance do our students have? Well, apparently the students have a better chance at it because they didn't fail in the numbers that the teachers did. So the students were doing much better at it because they had gotten fresher indoctrination about what the words were to mean. And so in the RLA portion, even the folks at the state level trying to hide their DEI agendas changed the answers around to meet the new meaning of words. And this is what I tried warning people about 2 years ago, is watch out for what the left is doing. They're trying to change the meaning of words. And when they change the meaning of words, it has a direct effect on what the outcome of action is. This is what we're going through right now. This is where you expect an intended result out of an action, but all of a sudden now the people who are operating under this particular action directive have a different response to things because they don't see what the meaning of words is the same as what you do. And so this is what they found out in this test exam here, that 13 out of 15 candidates failed because they don't even know the right answers to stuff they're supposed to be teaching. That's a problem. And somebody needs to fix this kind of stuff, because this kind of thinking goes throughout our society and continues on. And this is what changes the strength, the caliber, and the reasoning of your society and the people in it. So crazy kind of stuff. We're not going to fix it in one day. We have to be deliberate about it. We got to say no. No is a very powerful word. Start using it more and more. It's okay to say no. What no does a lot of times, if you say no to somebody's offer or request for help on something, you say no, but if you want to do it this way, I'll be glad to help. That type of thing. This way you can sort of set the tone and take it away from these indoctrination kind of lines of thinking that go on. So you do have power in here. The power rests in the word no and just saying, can't help you. So in the meantime, I love you, and I'll be back.